we are all going to do this as a homework, but I'm going to give you an example of how it looks like. We are all going to make a covenant with God. And it's going to look like this. Listen closely. Yeah.
Napkins. Do you need?
What we are going to do is that we are going to make a covenant with God today.
Somebody else? Yes.
We're going to write our own obituary. That's the next thing we are going to do now. All of us, we are going to write our own obituary. And what that is talking about is that we are going to assume that we all die today. Because this, what has happened to us now, is a death process. We are all going to die. I mean, we are all going to assume we are dead today. So we are going to write two obituaries of ourselves. We will write one, how I lived before today. If I were to die today, what will people say about me who will come to my burial, a funeral, who will come to my funeral? So what would they say about my life? That is if I were to be dead today. And then another one, if God will give me 10 more years to live, 10 more years of life. So after the retreat, how will my life have changed? How would my life have changed? Or how would my life might have changed thanks to the retreat, thanks to this training, and how much change would have happened to my life or to me due to this encounter with God here, and what improvement must have come to my life in the next 10 years, and what would the next obituary look like. So the obituary before the retreat here, and the obituary after 10 years later, how would my life must have changed since then? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. What would be the difference between those two obituaries? But what you should write is not your wishes, just wishful desire. What you should write is, it should be in line with the decisions you've made. That this is how my life is going to change. These are the things that I would have done, or I will be doing in the next 30 years or 20 years or 50 years, maybe at least 10 years from now. My life would have totally changed. Why do we take 10 years? If you have not put, or you cannot put into practice the things you've gained and learned here in the next 10 years, you know, there are little possibilities that you'll be able to do it forever, ever. So that's why we say 10 years. Because if you don't put time limit, you are not mobilized to do it. So, yeah, I think we'll come later. So come forward here. We are going to read out some of this, the way people wrote their obituaries, and then other questions as well. Apart from the obituary, there are also questions about values that you are going to answer. But we are going to show you where those questions are and how to answer them. But we're just going to read them out first. Let's read out the obituaries first, then later on we'll read the values.
The Balungan family hereby announces with a heavy heart the untimely death of our daughter, Miss Olubunmi Balungan. Until her death, she was a currency trader based in London. Our sorrow is further compounded by the fact that she never started embarking on her calling while she was on earth. Mightily blessed with potential such as a good head for memory and management skills, she never harnessed this for the benefit of humanity. She left the world sadly as an underachiever compared to her potential. Allowing herself to be distracted by the mundane things of life, she never grasped her calling and stepped out in faith to run with it. Her lethargy and indifference to the things of God left people in her promised land without a deliverer, thereby robbing many of their own destinies as well. Nevertheless, she did touch the lives of a few people that were around her. She was charitable, down to earth, and a great orator when she put her heart to it. Sadly, humanity has been robbed of these gifts deposited in her for their ultimate benefit, and she also robbed herself of a great destiny and the opportunity to write her name in the annals of history. Needless to say, it is with great sadness that we say she went to the grave with every virtue God blessed her with still intact. The funeral arrangements will be announced later by the family.
You say, you have to write what people would have said, but won't say. You know, people won't say truth. But you know the truth, how your life has been. That's why you must write it. How have you lived your life? What are the things you could have done and you didn't do? How, from the position of God, how did God see your life that you lived in tonight? You understand what we're saying? You write it down for you to see and to hear the truth. How as God would have assessed your life so far. From perfection, from what He created you to be, from comparison with what you'll be able to do. How would people see that? Or how will you see that? How would God see that? Then later on, after this change and encounter with God, let's see what happened with the other obituary.
So this is the next one, or the other obituary? Oh, okay. He obtained his PhD.
No, that's another one. Yeah?
Oh, okay.
One of the same lady.
The same lady, okay. With gratitude to God for a life well spent, we, the Balungan family, announce this transition to eternity of our daughter, Miss Olubunmi Balungan. Olubunmi, a currency trader based in London till her death, was a renowned political commentator and activist. She grasped the call of God with both hands and ran with it, pouring herself
So
out.
she believes God, or she's believing God that in the next 10, 20, 30 years, by the time she finishes that journey, this is now what's going to be written about her.
Pouring herself out to serve humanity in the way she was ordained to. She was recognized worldwide for her activities and won numerous awards. The story of the transformation of the political landscape in Nigeria will not be complete without her story. Her pioneering and exemplary work in this area has ensured for accountability in government and a gradual restoration of our dear country to her place of glory. No doubt we will miss our daughter, but we take solace in the fact that it is not how long a man lives, but how well he lives. We sigh to thank the President of the Republic of Nigeria, state governors, and distinguished senators for honoring our daughter with their presence at this occasion. Olubunmi, your God chose to take you home when the ovation was loudest. Rest in peace till we meet to part no more at Jesus' feet.
Do the next one.
He obtained his PhD in mechanical engineering. He has been a great help in establishing and strengthening the Africa Christian Fellowship Coventry branch. He has championed the cause of orphans in Uganda, and by his facilitation a number of them have been sponsored in Uganda to go to school. He has helped advance the mission work among the Mumuis in Nigeria. He is grieved by his wife and 3 children and will highly be missed by the ACF family. Now the second one. He obtained his PhD in mechanical engineering from the UK and worked briefly in several industrial settings before growing the kingdom and became the passion of his life. By his intervention, the 5,000 orphans have been put through schooling in 25 African countries. He has visited all the countries in Africa and has fully identified with the oppressed and establishing the kingdom of God. Several missionaries have been greatly encouraged in each of the countries. Arinze will be highly missed by these communities, but his legacy lives on through Max G. Missions Foundation. Through Arinze's intervention, the fledgling Africa Relief Appeal Foundation have been pushed to its glory of bringing relief to Africa to the tune of 3 BM in 10 years. The 2,000 active mission partners of Africa Christian Fellowship will owe their commitment to Arinze's undying zeal and commitment. Coventry, as a city, will highly miss her greatest asset in social intervention. Arinze taught the Coventry Church how to do church as it ought to be done. That church is without walls in Coventry is purely due to Arinze's drive and passion to fill the city with the kingdom of God.
Yes, then the next thing we are going to read, is that all the obituaries?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are going to read now some questions about values that we are going to ask you to answer, but we just want to read out some examples to you.
Okay, we have 9 questions, and they are all in your green brochures, but don't take them now. We'll just give you an example of answers to some of the questions. So can you please read first question? question and that answer.
Okay.
What do I really believe in? The very things that influence my life and my behavior are core values. What are they? Do I believe that God lives in me and that I am a carrier of God's kingdom? If so, then how should I live my life? Is there anything that you would consider worth dying for? Do not give right answers to these questions, but describe it as it is in your own life.
So we're going to read out someone answered it, for example.
Today's session was very heart-rending, making me to acknowledge some home truths about my core values. I thought God was my number one value, but today I realized that it was not the case, and it was simply lip service only. When Pastor explained the life of a person whose number one value is God, I was nowhere near it. Having said this, I sincerely love God. The things that influence my life and behavior are integrity, justice, and charity. Because these things all put together are attributes of God, it was easy to have a false security that God reigns supreme in my life. Furthermore, when I realized that if I were given a short time to live, I would want to change my lifestyle and accomplish a bit more of God. It truly established the fact that God is definitely not number one in my life right now. Previously, my answer would have been that God lives in me and I am His representative on earth. If this is truly the case, everything I lived for would be about the kingdom and not about me. I would have been all about Him. Presently, the candid truth is that it is not yet all about Him. There are certain aspects of my life that were yet to be surrendered to Jesus. Despite the above, I would consider dying for God, as I would not compromise my faith.
So we're going to give you the question now. You have the question.
So can you please open block number 7? Block number 7. Put on the light. Block number 7. So here we have 9 questions, but you already answered question number 2, which is make the list of 10 values and then cross away. So this one you don't need to do. The other ones you need to answer tonight. Just please answer the way it is, not the way you have to answer, not the way it sounds good, but the way it is, because you write it for yourself. So you will need to see the situation in order to change something. Okay, because most of the times people, we wanted to give you some good examples of English speaking participants, but most often people write it the way it must be, the way we expect maybe to see, but we don't expect you to write correct answers. Just write the way it must be. So can you please just go through these questions to make sure you understand everything?